Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Preparing Your Organization for Generative AI. This is a recorded version to follow up from our live version a few weeks ago. But we would like to we had some issues with audio and we decided we would re-record this and send it all out to you. With me today, I have Mirna Youssef from Microsoft. I'm going to get Mirna to introduce herself now so I don't do her an injustice with not knowing enough about what she does. Mirna, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So yeah, of course. Thanks, Paul. My name is Mirna Youssef. I'm a modern work specialist in Microsoft, looking after all of the productivity and collaboration workloads, and happy to be here with you today.
Thanks very much, Mirna. And for those who don't know my name is Paul Conaty. I'm a Client Solutions Director in the Office of the CTO with CWSI. My primary role is to work at a strategic level with customers in the security and compliance space, mostly around the areas of Microsoft Purview and Defender. So the couple of things we want to talk about in today's session. Obviously, we have a mix of different people attending the live event. Probably approximately 50% of them had stated that they were already looking at AI, and 50% had not started looking at AI yet. So what we'd like to do in the initial part of this webinar is talk a little bit about what AI is and the capabilities of it, and why we should be interested in it. Specifically focusing on Microsoft Copilot, and there'll be a demo, hopefully from Mirna, to show some of the capabilities of Copilot. And then we're going to talk a bit about preparation. So, while these new tools are exciting and, I think are going to be really transformative in terms of driving productivity and enabling workers, there are some risks and challenges associated with the tooling, and there is some work that we should all be looking at doing to be ready for using these tools in our environments. And that's what we'd like to talk about in the second half of today's session. Before we start, for anyone who doesn't know who CWSI are, we're an Irish-based company, and our purpose, or why we do what we do, is to enable the world's security from anywhere. So that's any application, any device, any network, no compromises. And what we mean by no compromises is two things. One is no compromises on security, and the other is no compromises on user experience. So what we really want is people to be able to do what they need to do, but to do it in a safe and secure way. We were founded in 2011 in Dublin, in Ireland, but we've expanded since to over 5 countries. We are now in Ireland, the UK, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. We've over 150 employees, and we have a global customer base serviced out of the European countries, but we have multinationals, and we're providing services across the globe. We specialize, as already mentioned, in securing hybrid work, or I guess it's just going to be called work soon, because hybrid is here to stay and it's the new normal, I think. And we work both directly with our customers and through channel partners such as telcos in the different regions, and through other distribution partners. We're also a founding member of something called the Enterprise Mobility Experts Alliance, or EMEA, which was a group of similar organizations across Western and Northern Europe, which allowed us to provide local language services, share products and information, and just overall enhance the abilities of all the different organizations. I'm going to hand over now to Mirna, who's going to take you through all the kind of features and talk a little bit about AI and the exciting things that we're able to do with it. Mirna, if you'd like to take over.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. So, hi everyone. So look, this is the agenda that we're going to cover today in terms of the M365 Copilot. So we're going to give you a very brief introduction on the AI and productivity, and what is the Copilot in terms of the definition and how it can help you on your day-to-day work. And we're going to do a very quick demo on a few applications just to show you an essence of what you can achieve here. And then we're going to share very quick early findings from customers who already leveraged the early access program and started to use that in the past 3 to 6 months. And then I'm going to head over to Paul to speak about the security and readiness in terms of the Copilot. So just before starting with the M365, so that was just a very quick finding from the work trend index survey that we've gathered from employees across the world, that 64% of them, they don't have time or energy to do their actual or core job and have time for innovation, because we're always dragged with searching or navigating informations and hopping on, hopping off from back-to-back meetings, replying to emails, following up on stuff on our mailboxes. So these things actually suck our energy and time every day and just leave us less creative by time. So 43% of employees' time is spent actually in creating, and 57% of the employees' time is spent in communicating. So accordingly, the end up result is 87% of the organization believe that the AI will actually get them ahead of the game and get them more competitive edge. So accordingly, this new AI employee aliens with all the work trend index survey says that people say that they're not worried that AI will replace their jobs. The complete opposite, because it will actually empower them to do their jobs way better and will actually delegate as much work as they can for the AI and focus on their core job and the innovation on a daily perspective. So this is actually a very quick glimpse on how the generative AI technology has been evolving very fast. So if we looked at the mobile phones, it has taken 16 years for the evolution. Internet has taken 7 years. Facebook or Meta has taken like 4.5 years to see how it evolved. However, like since we announced the Chat GPT versus now where the M365 is already on global availability, you can see the evolution just taken 3 months. So with more innovative products, the evolution, I'll say, would be even way faster. So today we're going to focus on the MP65 Copilot, and just for your information that Copilot or Microsoft Copilot is becoming attached to every single product that we have in our portfolio. So what we're speaking about today is the MP65 Copilot, which is the Copilot in your MP65 apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Teams, Outlook, and there is actually Dynamics 365 Copilot. There's Copilot for Power Platform, Security Copilot, and GitHub Copilot. Okay, so a very quick introduction. What is the M365 Copilot? Is actually the Copilot that you can consider as your AI expert or your best friend on your day-to-day work that will make you work better on your Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and make you actually more efficient in getting information and getting stuff done. So this is, as you can see here, it's basically gathering with natural large language models, okay, and embedding that with the Microsoft Graph, introducing or collaborating with your data, and then using the natural language with the ground processing, okay, on the MP65 apps, and then searching the internet, and accordingly it gets you the right information based on the prompt that you ask. So I won't take more time in that. I would love to demo it for you. So let me just share my screen if that is possible.
Sure.
Yeah, screen. Okay, so what I'm gonna start with is the OneNote. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly ask the Copilot, draft me an outline for a presentation on sustainability on 30 minutes. And by the way, it picks the typos. That's why I didn't care to make them right. So just I'm asking the Copilot to draft me an outline, because I'm going to use this outline, create an article on the word. See here. I paste it here for your visibility. So it has actually created me, that's a 30-minute presentation outlook. So 3 minutes for introduction, 10 minutes for environmental sustainability, and then 7 minutes for social sustainability, economic sustainability, etc., etc. So I'm just gonna copy this outline, okay, and then go to Microsoft Word, and then I'll ask Copilot to create an article based on this outline. And by the way, because we don't have time to demo every single possibility that you can have, okay, while I'm using the prompts, I'm going to tell you stuff that you can achieve. So for example, here, in the word, now I'm using the word to actually create something from scratch, okay? So here, the Copilot, I'm going to paste here, write about, okay, or actually I'm use here, write me. No, that's not, yeah. Copilot. Yeah. Write me an article based on the below outline, and this is the outline that I have taken from the OneNote, okay? And while it's actually creating, you can actually get documents from your own files or documents that are PDF or Word documents. Maybe you have lengthy document and you want to summarize it, you want to ask questions about this document, and you actually pop it into the Copilot and it does the same thing. So it doesn't have to be just creating stuff from scratch. You can get your own stuff and start working on it, summarizing it, rewriting with Copilot, making it less formal, making it more friendly, making it less lengthy, these kind of stuff. So I'm going to copy the article. Okay, I'm going to paste it here. So it has created for me a nice article based on the outline that I have asked it to do. So I will actually save this on my OneDrive so I can use that into my PowerPoint. Say demo Copilot, save. Okay, and then I'll share this link, copy link. Okay, and then yeah, open the PowerPoint. New PowerPoint. New. Okay, Copilot. So what I'm gonna do is actually the Copilot gives you some suggested prompts like create a presentation. So you can always say, okay, create presentation from scratch, like about this topic. So you write the topic that you want the PowerPoint to create the presentation on, or create presentation from a file, which I'm gonna use it right now. So you paste the link of the file that is saved on OneDrive and the PowerPoint creates it from. So I'm just gonna paste the link of the file that I have just created. And by the way, again, you can get a Word document, your own Word documents that is 120 pages, and just ask PowerPoint to create a presentation from this, and it will actually pick the outlines and create your presentation relevant to the Word document that you've got. So now it has picked the outline and it's preparing the slides. And again, see here, it's inheriting the sensitivity labels that is originally, and I'm sure Paul will gonna pick on the security. So if the content was sensitive, it's gonna be inherited there. So if I'm not allowed to copy any content from any document, the Copilot won't copy this content. So here, as you can see, sustainability has created agenda slide, introduction, and then picking on every outline, okay? And then I can ask it, okay, organize the presentation. So what I'm expecting it to do is to organize it into sections. So it will create automatically the sections and put them into order. And you can always ask it questions like, see here, okay, introduction is in a section, sustainability is in a section, conclusion is in a section. And for example, here in the first slide, I will ask it add a picture of the tree. Okay, so you can ask it question like that. It will add the picture and actually adjust it to the design of the slide. It won't add like a random picture like that left and you're asked to finish the design. So that's an example. And again, summarize the presentation. If you receive a lengthy presentation, the Copilot can summarize it for you or organize it. We've tried that, etc. And you will have access to something called Copilot Lab if you add here more prompts. So these are prompts that are tested and validated by Microsoft and it's giving you idea. So if you have here the Copilot Lab, and once you have access to, I need to sign in. I hope it just, yeah, perfect. So you choose the application that you want with the Word, with the Excel, PowerPoint, and then it will get you hundreds of prompts that you can use. Okay, so what I'm gonna cover now is the Teams. So I'm just gonna share my screen again and show you. It was a pre-recorded meeting, okay, made for demo purposes. So I'm just gonna open it now and just, Paul, do I have 5 minutes left?
Absolutely, yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So here, as you can see in my screen, that's a pre-recorded meeting, okay? So I'm gonna click here on Copilot, okay? And just start asking questions. So that was a recorded meeting and you don't have to record the meeting. You just turn on the transcript and you're gonna get all the information. So I'm just gonna ask it recap the meeting. Okay. So we're gonna see here the recap. So that was mainly as if we are a product marketing team and we are discussing the product, the launch of the product. So that was the key topics: product readiness update, marketing asset development update, and it will tell you every person what did he actually say. And there's something actually very interesting that with every answer you get the reference for it. Not sure why it's not popping now, but it always pops. But every question you ask, whenever it gets you information, it gets you where did it get this information from the transcript. So actually I can get it from here. Yeah. And then here in the recap, you can see here that's the window that I wanted to show you, that it will show you all the speakers, when did every speaker speak, okay? And this is the AI notes. And these are the content that we have shared. And then the Copilot piece is, okay, if you see here, the recap meeting, I can actually see the suggested prompts like list action items. So it will tell you who's the action owner and what did it actually say. See here, this is the transcript, the reference that I was telling you about. So the action items was 4 action items, and this is between brackets the owner of every action item and where did it pick that from the transcript. And actually, one of my favorite ones is list action. Oh, list action items in a table with timeline column. Okay, so what I'm expecting here is the action item, the owner, the timeline in 3 different columns. So here you can see, yeah. So it will list it on a table here with the timeline, the owner, and what was the action items, okay? And you can actually use as well generate meeting notes. Generate meeting notes is basically combining the meeting minutes plus the action items, so it's ready for you to pop it on your Outlook and send it to the relevant audience. And stuff like that I used before, like a generate meeting notes. Okay, we've tried that. What was the quality of contribution of the meeting? And it will tell you, like, I cannot answer this as a question with confidence. It involves judgment on, because I've asked feedback on somebody. So it will tell you, I cannot answer this question with confidence because it involves judgment. Because again, every prompt you send, it goes back to the grounding process. So the grounding makes sure that you're not asking something that is related to race or gender or anything that is judgmental. So it won't definitely get you an answer for something like that. Yeah, I mean, you can ask questions like, what did Owen think about the launching? So Owen thought that the launching should not be delayed because it would risk generating negative news cycles, blah, blah, blah. And that was from the transcript. So you can ask natural language like that, or you can use the suggested prompts. So I think I am done with the demo. So we can share the screen again, Paul, please.
Brilliant. Yeah, 2 seconds now. Thank you so much, Mirna. There's a lot of
I hope
very
I
cool
was good
stuff in
on
there, I
time.
have to say.
Thank you.
I can already see quite a number of things I'm looking forward to playing with myself. You know,
Yes,
the meeting minutes one is great, but being able to very quickly summarize large documents into presentations and things like that are, as you said at the start, they're just things that take up time in your day, which could be better spent doing other things. So it's great.
absolutely. Yeah, I personally use it every day. So
So
yeah,
hopefully you can see my screen again. Can everyone see my screen? Yeah.
yeah, you can
Yeah,
see.
so we can skip past these couple of slides here now. So I think
Yeah.
so some useful
Yeah.
statistics. I don't know whether you want to comment on these as well, Mirna. That I think they came from some of the surveys that have been done by Microsoft.
Yeah, I'm actually getting to this. Perfect. Yeah. So there was like some of the useful or actually interesting statistics that has come that 77% like would not want to give it up. Like I bet if somebody used this team summarizing, like you can't now hold a pen and a notebook again and write meeting notes, because we can never be as efficient as that and as quick as that, and it will actually help us focus on the meeting and be more engaged. And 70% of the Copilot users said that they actually are more productive, which is a brilliant percentage. And 68% said that the Copilot helped them jumpstart into creative process, especially like this OneNote piece. I would think like for example, marketing team, like they want to brainstorm an idea or a project or any launch, they just start by OneNote, draft me a plan or draft me ideas, and it will get them ideas. And for the 67% said Copilot saved them time so they can focus on more important work, which is obvious from what we have shared. 3.8 times faster on catching up missed emails. Like I haven't showed you the Outlook piece for the essence of time, but the Outlook, it's basically like you get a long thread of email and you say Copilot, please summarize me this thread, and it will summarize like a long thread of emails in just 3 sentences where you just been looped as FYI or FYA, or actually ask Copilot if maybe you're back from annual leave to just summarize you the mailbox and to get you up and running on the important stuff. And again, for customer service, 12% said like this faster and on resolving customer issues, because you just get what's really important very fast and fetch information really more efficient. So these are like one of the top foundings from the early access program. And again, from a time-saving perspective, from productivity perspective, like these are numbers that we've got from the early access program, from the survey results of the customers that who were on the early access program. So as you can see here, it's value by workflow, like 64% spent time less in actually processing emails, and 84% find that it's easier to take action after the meeting and just get the relevant people to the right thing faster. So yeah, so I'm heading to Paul.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, as I said, there's lots and lots of positive stuff there. I said I think we're all excited about what the likes of Copilot and other generative AI can do for us. However, like any new technology, there are going to be some risks and challenges associated with deploying something like this into your environment. And what I'd like to do now is spend some time talking about, some of those key areas and also how you can mitigate against them. And, Mirna did show one example already, which we'll come back to later on, around handling sensitive information and how things like Copilot can help you. But starting at the very kind of basic areas around the potential risks using generative AI, there's a couple of key ones that I'd like to call out. So the first is, privacy concerns over data exposure via the training model. So there's definitely been a lot of talk around this. There's even been elements of this being part of the recent AI Act that the EU have released a draft for, around how do we ensure that training models do not expose personal data or private data of people who've contributed to them, or that the data is used for training the model. So a concern that many companies might have is that internal company data could be exposed by an AI, a third-party AI, to other third parties accidentally or via some kind of prompt engineering. And this is a valid concern. We have seen some evidence that this could occur already, so it is definitely something that people need to consider. Another common one that what I hear is incorrect use of copyright or sensitive material. So as you can see, AI tools are very good at going out and taking different sources of data, bringing them all back in and summarizing them for you. However, by themselves, they're not typically aware of the sensitivity of that data unless you've done some effort to use things like classification. So there is a risk there that copyright material or sensitive material could be pulled into those summary documents or into those new content. So it's very important that that is considered in your security model, rather than just kind of like letting it go out there and pull everything in. So, data access controls in your organization, if they are not as strong as they should be, then you could have an issue where IP or sensitive data gets returned in query responses. There's also this concept called hallucinations, which kind of sounds hilarious when we're talking about technology, but that's what they've chosen to call it. And this is where AI can create false or inaccurate content. And as you probably saw in some of the demo that Mirna was showing there is a little disclaimer at the top of quite a lot of the data where it says this content was generated by an AI and should be reviewed by a human. So it's important that we don't just assume the AI is going to do everything for us. We need to, it can take a lot of the work and make things quicker, but there is still a responsibility, and there should always be a level of oversight for a human operator. And I think this goes back to the statistic about whether people are afraid that AI will take their job. I don't think at this stage or for quite some time in the future that AI is going to be able to be 100% accurate. So a human is always going to need to review the outputs. And that's important. It's something that needs to be considered in your business processes when you're embedding generative AI. And then finally, prompt engineering. So, we've seen security compromise or attempted compromise before through things like manipulating queries in like front ends of database systems and websites through things like cross-site scripting and various other types of attacks. Generative AI also has these types of risks associated with it. So there is possibilities that people using clever use of prompts could expose back-end data. So you really need to be sure that you have good security testing in place and to account for this, and that you have controls like we're going to talk about in a few minutes around minimizing the access to sensitive data and ensuring that prompts are only capable of surfacing information that they're supposed to. But it is something that people will need to think about before they start using generative AI, potentially as a front end into applications or as part of their services and processes. So some of the key questions that I would recommend people consider when they're doing vendor risk assessments or doing kind of third-party assessments of tooling. So whether it's Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT, or there's a whole plethora of different AI solutions have come onto the market very, very rapidly in the last couple of months. They are being embedded in all sorts of different platforms and services. I know there's a Salesforce Copilot. There's various different tools out there in ServiceNow and other vendors as well. So some key things I would be suggesting people look at when they're doing their evaluations of these third-party tools. So first of all, what controls are in place to ensure that these Gen AI tools cannot expose your corporate data to third parties? So do you have good data access controls? Do you have things like data classification and encryption, information rights management? Are they robust, well tested, and will they stand up to, the use cases of generative AI? Do you have mature and robust data security and access controls to make sure that your users will only be able to access the data that they should do? You don't want to inadvertently have users accessing data that they shouldn't see. A real problem we see in a lot of organizations is access creep. So where people move from one role to another and their access controls are not removed from their old roles. So they accumulate access. They may not be aware of this themselves, and generally it might not cause a problem because they're not actively searching those places. But the AI is just going to search whatever that user has access to because it runs in the user context. So that is something that people need to be on top of. And there's a number of different ways we'll talk about how to do that. Monitoring controls to ensure that queries and outputs do not breach your GRC, your governance, risk, and compliance requirements, i.e. privacy or industry regulations. So things like GDPR, things like HIPAA, MiFID II, there's all sorts of different industry-specific and general regulations out there to ensure that we limit the access of data to only those who should see it, and also maybe the amount of data that people see. We need to ensure that generative AI will not bypass those controls. So again, this is just down to robust testing and investigation as part of your change management and your adoption of generative AI. You need to see do your existing controls meet the requirements for generative AI use cases, and will they also meet your regulatory requirements. So you need to review your regulatory requirements, especially because we are seeing some updates coming in those areas around things like AI processing, particularly for personal data. That's an extremely important one to understand. And then finally, do you have the detection or protection controls in place to ensure prompts cannot be used to bypass controls or expose data? So this is where do your internal DLP monitoring and risk controls, are they able to scan inside the prompts? So when you see all those cool demos that Mirna was doing, where there's a Copilot window in each of your different Office apps, do your existing DLP and compliance controls, are they able to scan inside that prompt window, both for the prompt that Mirna is writing and in the output that comes back, so that you can reduce the risk, or at least have a audit log of what's going on in your environment. So some of the recommendations that we would make around these different areas. So in terms of detecting sensitive data in prompts and outputs, and really these recommendations are very focused on Microsoft Copilot. And the reason why we're doing that is, I think from what we've seen in this area, Copilot is definitely written for enterprise use cases and it comes with a number of security embedded controls and also interoperability with a lot of Microsoft's existing security and compliance controls. So that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about these recommendations. It's probably, for the other third-party solutions, you'll have to really review what the capabilities of those solutions are and whether your existing security tool sets are able to interact with those different solutions. Whereas with the Microsoft Copilot piece, we know that there's things like Purview and Defender and Entra will all interact with those different solutions. So to help detect sensitive data in prompts and outputs, I would look sensitive info types, looking for things like PCI, corporate IP. There's a number of out-of-the-box sensitive info types, and of course you can customize those yourselves. You can also use trainable classifiers and things like exact data matches to ensure that you're able to find your sensitive data in your environment. And in this particular case, find it in prompts and in AI-generated content. And that's something that is supported by Copilot. Deploying data classification using sensitivity labels. I think this is really important. We saw an example of this in the demo. So when new data is created from different source files, if those source files have been classified as confidential or extremely confidential or top secret, or however your internal classification system works, then that should follow through into the new content and clearly show the end user that they have got confidential data in this document, so that you don't end up bypassing those kind of controls. So I think that's really important. So it's before you're deploying something like Copilot, I think there's a strong argument to have data classification deployed in your environment. And then finally, using things like communication compliance, which is an extension to Purview, specifically for Teams and also now Copilot, which allows you to analyze the actual user prompts for inappropriate language or sharing of confidential information. So we saw that there is already some semantic scanning there when Mirna was looking at the meeting summations, where you can't ask it to summarize kind of personal opinion, but You also want to make sure that people aren't putting inappropriate comments into prompts or asking inappropriate questions or trying to use prompts to pull out inappropriate information. And that's the kind of thing that communication compliance can both detect and actually prevent. So things like hate speech, inappropriate language, all those kind of things can be controlled in Copilot prompts using communication compliance. Preventing sensitive data from being reported in prompts. Again, we've already talked about the data classification piece, but in conjunction with that or on its own, you can also use information protection or information rights management. So primarily things like encryption to prevent that kind of data being surfaced in prompts. So, if data is encrypted, then Copilot will not be able to pull it back unless it was encrypted by the user who's doing the query. But you can control in your environment the ability for Copilot to surface encrypted information and prevent it appearing in outputs. And then the other piece is around user access controls on the access creep element. So things like Entra ID access reviews are really useful here. They can review group access membership, application access membership to ensure that only the right people have access. Excuse me. And enable kind of regular reviews by the data owners. So this is something that IT can delegate out to the business so that, for example, the head of HR can look at membership of HR groups and see should that person still have access to that file, location, or document and remove them in a timely fashion so that they then don't turn up in things like Copilot searches. And then finally, the regulatory requirements piece. Yeah, things like e-discovery can be used to find and remove Copilot data. So if you need to discover information in your environment for a regulatory investigation or for a subject access request, for example, or freedom of information type of engagement, much like you can do with Teams, Purview e-discovery can detect Copilot data in queries. A lot of this data is stored in the user's mailbox as a hidden kind of location. But this can be surfaced using e-discovery, which is a really useful way of having a look at that information. And then, if you have to do an investigation, that you can find it. And if you're using retention capabilities like the data lifecycle management piece, you can ensure that that data is retained for as long as is required. Or conversely, if you're worried about, for example, personal data and you want to make sure you have a data minimization principle in place, retention rules, data lifecycle management could also be applied on those Copilot prompts. So, queries and responses that contain personal data can be removed in a timely fashion and aren't held for too long. So both of those types of tools can be used for Copilot data as well, which I think is really, really useful. Because people are going to build up libraries of these prompts really, really quickly. I think Mirna showed the lab where people can share prompts, but also your own personal prompts will be held in a type of history, somewhat similar to maybe an internet or search history. So it's important that you put controls around those as well. So the key takeaways, just coming to the end here now, that I think everyone should consider is sensitivity labels, which is part of the data classification suite in Purview. They are displayed and return content to prompts as seen in the demo. And these are, if there's multiple sources with multiple types of sensitivity label, the document will always show the most restrictive because it makes sense. You want to, you want to really the new document to go to the level of the most restrictive. So if you have a confidential document, a general document, and a public document, and you put all three into a summary, the summary document should be marked as confidential because it has confidential data in it. What's nice about this is not only does the sensitivity label appear visually to the end user, it's also, if there's any visual markings that are assigned to that sensitivity label, for example, watermarks or headers or footers, they will be inherited into the new document content as well. So if you create, as per the example we saw in the demo, a PowerPoint from a source Word document, if that source Word document had a watermark or a header or a footer, they will be pulled into the PowerPoint document as well, which again ensures that visual control is in place for confidential or classified information. It is important to note that Copilot requires the extract usage right to display content from encrypted files. So typically only the user who applies encryption has the extract usage right. So if the person who applied encryption to the file is running the query, they will be able to query inside encrypted files. However, somebody else who has view access to that file will not be able to query that from a Copilot point of view. And you can use policies in your data classification, information rights management, encryption policies to define usage rights. So this is something you might want to review in your environment to see, do you want to ensure that you limit those extract rights as much as possible to ensure that you don't expose any new risk when people start using Copilot. But it can be set at a global setting for your different information rights policies and a corresponding classification sensitivity labels. So they're just kind of three key areas that I think people should think about. It's definitely worth, if you haven't looked at it already, investigating the capabilities in Purview around data classification, information rights management, and data lifecycle management, which is really around encryption, retention, and classification. We're also expecting to see quite a lot of new capability coming into the insider risk console, where you'll be specifically able to look at insider risks being driven through Copilot activity like queries. And there will also be additional DLP capabilities coming in the near future, specifically around Copilot, over and above the ones that already exist in the likes of Teams, OneDrive, Outlook, and SharePoint. So there's a number of new capabilities coming, and there's some very good documentation on the Microsoft Learn sites around securing Copilot, including, I would recommend people review the Zero Trust for Microsoft Copilot reference architecture, which has some really, really good useful information for anyone who's looking at Copilot in their environment. Just from a licensing point of view, there's a couple of things here. I'm not going to kind of cover the actual Copilot licensing requirements. I think you can speak to your relevant license specialist for that. But from a security point of view, the basic information protection, manual labeling of policies and the SharePoint data controls, OneDrive data controls, they are available in an E3 or A3 if you're an academic institution license. However, the really good advanced controls around automatic labeling, access reviews, data lifecycle management, which is the retention pieces, and things like communications compliance, you're really looking at an E5 or A5 type license for those. So that's just something, again, organizations need to consider looking at as part of their readiness assessments for getting ready for deploying Copilot in their environment. I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. And again, apologies for the audio and technical issues we had for the live broadcast. It does happen. Live demos and live webinars always run the risk of technical issues. But hopefully you'll found this re-recorded version, more detailed and much more useful. And I really appreciate Mirna's giving up her time today. Thank you very much, Mirna, for coming again and going through all your demo in detail.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone.
And just as a follow-up, we are offering a free 30-minute consultation offer with myself or one of our consultants to talk around all the areas we've spoken about today around those security and readiness information for Copilot. So please do reach out to your relevant CWSI sales account executive, or use the QR codes that we're going to leave up on screen for the next minute or so. Thank you again for your time.